Okay, hello. This is Joe Stizzy and my good friend Loki Jarson here. And this is the Internet's Worst Gaming Podcast, and we are streaming for the
Yes.
very first time, and hopefully this is not a unmitigated disaster, because this is our first time streaming.
It's only a mitigated disaster.
Yes, I can see us on my page. We are live with our
Yes.
good friend Geoff, because whether he knows it or not, we are his friends as well. And this is the Internet's
Also, you
Worst
remember
Gaming
that thing I said about us
Podcast.
being in the corner? We're in the corner.
Yes, I deliberately did that just so we couldn't cover up Geoff's in all its glory. So, I hope that was okay. Yeah, this is talking. We're going to talk about the 2024 Video Game Awards that was held just a few days ago on Thursday, and watched by millions or 1.5 million, something like that. I didn't see the final number, but nobody cares about the awards. It's all about the trailers. And there were some good ones. There were some not so good ones, or at least in my opinion. And we might talk briefly on what the awards show, but it's mostly the gaming news that we're concerned about. So I'll just hand it off to you there, Loki.
Wow. Okay, so a horrible thing has just happened. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so when okay. Oh, that's weird then. Never mind. Never mind. Say a few sentences. I want to test something real quick.
The gaming news.
Okay,
I
okay.
guess
Never mind. Never mind.
just
Ignore everything, all that shit. Wow. Forget it.
Okay, all right. I
Dude,
told you this would be a disaster, folks.
Jesus Christ, man. I need to tell you. I muted myself so I could do something, and then I could hear you fine. So when I unmuted myself for me to talk, I couldn't hear you.
What?
I know it doesn't make any sense, so I'm not going to be able to mute myself for the rest of the show.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll just that's okay. Like I said, we'll just deal with it. Bear with us, and like I said, this is our first time, so we're learning things as we go. So it is what it is. So
And then luckily, I just hit post tweet.
yeah, I
So
guess I should
because
tweet about
this is a test show, so if it doesn't work, then it'll never happen again. So this is that. If it
Yeah.
works well enough, then maybe we'll do it again. Some more.
I hope everything goes well. Just listening in on watching the stream on my browser, I can hear.
This is a test show, so if it doesn't work, then it'll never. Do you hear yourself as on delay or?
Yeah, it is on delay, luckily. So
Okay.
so it's very weird. I'm like not used to that, but yeah. But I can hear both of us in the stream right now. Yeah,
Thank
it's on a
God.
delay, so we're both
Why?
coming through
Why is your image slightly taller than my image?
because I'm really bad at resizing the images.
So
I
let's
even-
go
I-
over.
I tried to get a bow tie on your little Loki avatar.
Oh hell
there,
no! Don't
but
you
it
dare
just
do that.
Became more trouble than it's worth. So
Let's go over the major award winners, which is to say mostly game of the year, right?
mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion on like best RPG or best action game?
Well, Loki, as you know, and hopefully our dozens of viewers know, or listeners, we don't really, when we do our Game of the Year podcast or whatever, we don't really break it up into categories. We just go through what our favorite games were.
Well, yeah,
Best
we
RPG.
did for like best. When we had the audio podcast, we did. This is the best block here, and this is the worst block here.
Yeah, ours were basically just the best of the worst of in the past year.
Mhm.
Best RPG, if I'm not mistaken, spoilers, it was Metaphor Refantasio won it for the VGA, and I've only played the demo of that, and it seemed interesting, but I didn't get it right away. I just had a bunch of other things to play, and I'll just get it at a later time. So
It's
I
it's
can't
on
speak.
Game Pass, so like meh.
But for me personally, best RPG would probably be, I want to say Unicorn Overlord was my favorite this year. I know that's probably a shock because it was Rebirth for a long time, but that's one of those games that the more I think about it, at least the story, the more upset I get. and realize how much bloat is in it,
Is
and it just
I
keeps
don't
going down and down.
I don't have the official list. Do you have the actual like VGA list with you?
I have everything. Well, I say everything. I haven't combed through every single header here, but it's pretty much all the trailers that were released. I think there might be some of the award winners on here too.
Okay, because I don't remember if Unicorn Overload was like in their set. Because I just picked, what they nominated.
You know what? I had no. I have no idea if it was even nominated.
I don't know that it was nominated for something. I can't tell you what it was. I know I saw it in a different live stream.
If I had to guess, I would say probably best art direction.
Might have been.
Yeah, because
It didn't win because that was also Metaphor.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Metaphor also won best art style, art design.
Of the ones they showed, for me, it was really between like Rebirth and Infinite Wealth, and my logic was, I think Infinite Wealth is a better game, but Rebirth is a better JRPG. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And they're both Japanese based, so but yeah, Infinite Wealth it has a lot of the staples of JRPGs because it's inspired greatly by the Dragon Quest games. So
yes,
but yeah, I know what you mean, and I enjoyed Infinite Wealth thoroughly, but it wasn't. It's probably bottom tier when it comes to the Yakuza Like a Dragon Judgment games, at least for me. But I think that just kind of speaks to the quality I think these games exude and just how good most of them really are. Where Infinite Wealth's like an 8 out of 10 for me, but it's kind of near the
I
bottom.
understand.
Yeah.
See, I don't want to say I overpraised it this year. It's just compared to all the other absolute piss shit that was 2024.
Yeah, it was not a great year. Wasn't a bad year by any means. I don't think we'll look back on and just say, hey, what came out that year? Who knows? But
A bunch of shit that didn't make money because it was made by communists.
yeah, it was a lot of highs and lows, no doubt about that. And there were some some successful games made by communists too. So we can't leave that out. The most prominent being Black Myth Wukong won Best
Of course,
Action Game,
which
I
one?
believe.
Action game, yes.
Yeah, and
But not
funnily
Best
enough-
Action Adventure because there's a distinction.
Yeah, that's really dumb. But funnily enough, the physical copy of Black Myth Wukong appeared on my doorstep just right before we started this. So
Excellent.
yeah, so I'll be able to get into that and get some impressions for when we eventually do our best of, because this is technically not it. We're just giving our reactions to what was
To the Geoffs.
nominees that won in the awards. Yeah.
I figured it out, by the way. It's not me muting, it's you moving.
Oh. Well, I will try to keep that to a minimum then.
Yeah, don't move at all. Don't even like blink too hard.
As someone who talks with his hands, this will be very tough for me.
My issues with Black Myth are like one, giant spider, and two, I don't see anything different than any other fucking Souls game. All these games look the same. Doesn't matter who makes them. What sets out Wukong is that a completely brand new studio from a place that doesn't usually make games made it.
Yes, and the fact that it pertains to the Journey of the West story, which a lot of Westerners probably aren't familiar with. I've heard of it, but even I'm not, super up to the details on what goes down in that fable. So, but yeah, like I said, I haven't played it yet. It looks great. It looks phenomenal. Graphics, art design, and I've seen some of the boss designs and character models, and you can tell they put a lot of years into that game, because we first heard about it back in 2018, 19, something like that, maybe farther back. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'll have more of that when we do our own show. And oh yes, just to update, this list that I'm looking at only has the announcements. It doesn't have any of the award winners, unfortunately.
That's fine. What else won awards? Like Rebirth won Best Soundtrack. I know there was some controversy over that because it's mostly reused music. I say it just won because of No Promises to Keep.
It might have. It might have. We said this. We were talking yesterday, and I mean, I love it. It's great. But it's Final Fantasy VII soundtrack just rearranged, and Seven has got a phenomenal soundtrack. It did when it first came out. For me personally, as far as original scores this year, I think Stellar Blade is the best I've heard. Unicorn Overlord also had a really good one, but and Infinite Wealth did too. But yeah, Stellar Blade was it's fantastic, that score, and I would highly suggest listening to it.
Would you also give that best action game?
As of this moment, yeah, it's the best action game I've played this year, I think, and that's another studio that has not. It was their first console game because they just mainly make mobile games, and I thought they hit it out of the park. I thought it was fantastic, and it's got one of the best looking female main character designs I've ever seen, and also one of the most controversial ones. But
I thought that didn't matter.
It does to me, Loki. It does to me. And if you've seen Eve, it would to you too.
I don't know how far I'm. We'll have to talk off air about stuff. I have problems with the game, but not a problem with Eve. I have problems with the game. I haven't finished it though, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, I know you. I know you've been having trouble with the fighting, and I will say there's some sort of like timing and delay kind of snafus with it. I think they've addressed a lot of them in a lot of the patches, but I remember when the game came out and it was the 1.00 version, there was a bit of a delay when it came to the parrying that could be, you had to really get used to it, and it was kind of off, but it was great.
I'm just gonna fucking memory here. What else? Who cares about Family Game? Who cares about VR? Fuck it, let's just Astrobot. Like, why?
It's a Sony show, dude. That's the only thing I can really equate it to, because
I think Astrobot won 4.
Freaking yeah! I know it won Game of the Year. That was the big one. And what else did it win?
Family and some other bullshit.
See, I don't think it deserved to win a family award too, because that's a single player game, isn't it?
Yes, but it was nominated, and of the 5, there were, I believe, 2 single player games.
Yeah, I think that should disqualify you from being a nominee for family game, because when you hear family game, you automatically would think, most people would, that it's a game you can play with the whole family.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to family friendly, which just means Nintendo, because there were 2 Nintendo games on that list.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was Mario Party Jamboree or something like that.
Yes, and Princess Peach, and 3. There was Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, so we're 3 single players.
Right. Definitely family friendly, but not something you can play with the whole family. So, and why it won Game of the Year? Yeah, like I said, it's just a Sony show at this point.
Well, because its opponents were a fucking card game and a fucking DLC.
Which shouldn't have. Neither of them deserve to be there. I'm sure Balatro is a fun game. I don't think either of us played Balatro or Astrobot. No. But I don't think a card game that's basically just a variation of Texas Hold'em should be eligible to win Game of the Year. And it's just my opinion.
I've nothing on Astrobot principally. Like, it's in my GameFly rental queue, and I'll play it. But I don't want to pay $60, $50 for it. I don't even want to pay $40 for it. Partially, one, because I don't like platformers, just chiefly. I suck at them.
Oh, no, and I'm not saying I got anything against them myself either. It's just, yeah, it's a platformer, and I played a ton of those when I was a kid, and they are what they are. They're fun, but they're pretty forgettable when it comes to the grand scheme of things. It's going looking back on games, but yeah, I'm sure it's fun.
You may have fun in the moment while you're playing it. Are you going to remember it in a week?
Yeah, very unlikely. Very unlikely. And absolutely no excuse for a DLC being in there. Granted, it was an Elden Ring DLC. That's the only reason it was on there.
You beat
And
that, right?
I did. I did. It was a very mixed bag. I'd say the first half was pretty darn good. There was a few really good bosses that were memorable, but the final boss of that DLC is just pure cheap bad game design bullshit. It's terrible, it's awful. When you design a boss so poorly that the majority of players have to basically just build a cheese build just to take it out, then you did a bed job, in my opinion.
Are we
It
talking about Bed of Chaos?
it's it's not Bed of Chaos is just fundamental bad game design. The final boss of the DLC, which is called his name is Rodan, the Chosen Consort. It's basically just it's an effect or an amalgamation of all these different effects and mechanics that they would put in previous Souls fight. And it kind of shows that they've gotten to the point From Software has where they've run out of ideas. Where it's just, okay, how do we design this guy? Okay, well, let's just add in more AoE effects, more lighting effects that'll blind the player, all these cheap after hit effects and shit like that.
So is it worth transitioning to the trails already? Because they did announce a new Elden Ring thing.
They sure did. It's Elden Ring: The Night Reign, I believe it's called,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very weren't really sure. We're just watching the trailer what it was going to be, but when I saw it, I noticed that a lot of the player characters move a lot more quickly than they do in Elden Ring. Their attacks seem to be more flamboyant and elaborate, and that there were a lot of recurring and returning bosses and enemies from not just the Elden Ring game, but the Souls franchise. Namely, there's the Nameless King from Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, even I know about him. He's very famous.
Yeah, he's a very tough fight, but he's a legit tough fight. He's a great boss, and a few more details have come down about the game. It supposedly takes in an alternate universe than the main Elden Ring story, and it is a 3-person co-op PvE. I think technically it's categorized as.
I've seen games say PvPvE, which is stupid.
Seems I've been seeing that more often this year than ever before. But it's why don't you just say, hey, there's some PvP and there's some PvE. Enjoy. But Elden Ring, this new Night Rain game, it has preset characters. You can't customize your character. I think you can level up and you might be able to acquire new skills and whatnot. But it looks like it's definitely supposed to be more a more accessible, relaxed version of Elden Ring.
That's what I was just to ask. There's no way in hell you're the core audience. There's no way in hell the core audience likes this.
It feels like a greatest hits album for the From Software games.
But really I mean, to lack of like customizability and like increase, basically, straight up just looks like it making it easier.
I think the term I used when we were talking about the other day is streamlined. That's what the trailer just screamed to me. It's just this looks like a streamlined, very easy to get into, From Software game. It seems like it's designed for people who said, "Oh, you know what? I want to play a From Software game, but I've heard they're really hard." It's like, well, look no further. Here's a new game by them. That's your character move faster. They hit harder. It's shorter than probably. It's going to be a lot shorter than Elden Ring and probably some of the Souls games. So, and we may learn more details that might appeal to the more the traditional Souls and Elden Ring fan. But
my theory was that this is a quick job by Bandai Namco to get all they can out of Elden Ring before Sony buys Katakawa.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Loki. I think this is them trying to squeeze whatever juice they can out of Elden Ring before a possible buyout of from Katakawa. But I know that deal's kind of hit some snafus. But so I don't know the latest on that. But
It would be better to have this. What the fuck? I was going to call it Veilguard. What the fuck is it called?
Night Rain.
Night Rain. It's better to have Night Rain in your pocket and ready to go than have nothing.
Because I theorize because Elden Ring is their most popular game of all time. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I feel pretty confident in saying that. And I've said many times before that they are definitely, due to the reception and the popularity, they're going to make a sequel to it. This is a spinoff from the looks of it, and a Elden Ring 2 may be in the offing. But for now, this seems like something that was really, like you said it best, Loki. It's something that they can just make really quickly, put the Elden Ring name on it and just get it out there. It's got all the same wrapping on it that people will recognize, and try to capitalize as much of the Elden Ring as they can. So we'll see.
What? More power to him. I will not be playing.
Fantastic.
What else? Oh, let's keep it in your wheelhouse. Onimusha. Did that have a subtitle?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's been 82. No, it's only been about 20 years since the last Onimusha game. I think Dawn of Dreams came out in 2006, but
they had that remastered of Warlords not too long ago.
Yes, and that's the only game they've remastered or even re-released of the Onimusha games, which is another surprise for me. They have let this franchise just like on the wayside. They've just let it squandered and just like slowly just fade from people's memory, and I thought they were done for it, but I was very pleased to see that there is a new game.
Are you pleased to see that it's 2 years away?
That I'm less pleased about. But I did think it was very funny when I was scrolling through Twitter and watching some streams on Thursday night during the awards show. When people saw that 2026 release date, they said, "Oh," and they were very similar to my reaction, saying, "Oh man, that's so far away." But then there were other games that it's very obvious that they're even farther away, like they're 3 or 4 years later.
That's crazy because Onimusha had a smidget of gameplay. There were no like HUD elements, but you could see that was in engine.
It sure did, yeah. And from just watching the trailer, it looks like it's going to be a Souls-like, which is not surprising. A little.
It's Capcom's take on it, yeah.
Yeah, I hope it's a little bit. Maybe not faster pace isn't the right way to put it, because Onimusha is. Excuse me. It wasn't a super, super hyper intense action game or anything like that. It is pretty methodical as you're going through in the gameplay, but it's not what I would consider the traditional, what has become the genre of Souls-like. But I'd be very, very shocked if they didn't take inspiration from it. So just have to wait and see. But I am looking forward to it a lot.
What else was good? Let's do all the good stuff first, so we can shove the two really bad things for the end.
Oh, we might be running low on the good stuff, honestly.
Mafia, the old country. I love all three of those Mafia games. The remaster did the second game very dirty. Play the original version of Mafia 2. But the remake of Mafia 1 is much better than the original Mafia 1. Kind of crazy. But 3 is my favorite. These are all very good, not GTA-style games.
I have not played any of the Mafia games. I have 3 on the hard drive, and I think 2's on PS Plus, so I may get to that one. I've heard the second remaster, it took away a lot of the, let's say, attitudes of...
Dude, no. 2's problem is it fucked up checkpoints.
Oh, okay, all right. I may be
There
thinking of the
there are
first one.
now. If we thinking like no, that's also not true. If we're thinking like what they're gonna do in the old country, there were no Playboy magazines in 1915 Italy.
Well, I have. It's been a long time since siphoned through my dad's collection, but I don't think he has any dating that far back. So,
But yeah, that was a rumor that censoring was going to happen. It did not happen. Having played the games, I can confirm.
okay, all right.
I can't
You
speak
were,
for I can't speak for the future.
yeah. I will take your word for it. You have played them. Like I said, I have not. Uh, uh, it's they're one of those series that I will get to eventually.
They're not as good as like the Yakuza series, so don't like put that high a hope on it. They're fine games.
I would imagine they're a very different style of game too
Yes.
than Yakuza. So, yeah.
Speaking of Yakuza,
Yeah, RGG, Ryuga Kotoku. I just go with RGG. They announced technically two games, I think it was,
hmm
during
yes,
the awards. The first one is they are helping make the new Virtual Fighter,
with Sega, yeah,
which it's been a while for since the last iteration of that game series. It's I want to say it was also 2006 when Virtual Fighter 5, I think that was the last one, came out.
that was the new one, yeah, the 360 era,
Yeah,
the last new
the
one.
newest one, yeah. Yeah, it's been Virtual Fighter fans have been starving. I have played some. I like the series. It's not up there with my favorite fighting game franchises, but it's enjoyable.
I think it's very as a franchise. Maybe this new game will be something fantastic, but I think as a franchise, Virtual Fighter has always been very bleh. It's like it's the workman's fighting game. You know, like all the mechanics are fine, but to look at and to just from a casual perspective, it's like this doesn't have interesting characters like Street Fighter. It doesn't have interesting mechanics like Soul Calibur. It's just like you throw people and you grapple.
It's not stylish at all.
No,
Virtual Fighter. It's not. There's nothing that pops out at you. Like you said, it's not fast paced. There's no. I mean, there's some decent character designs and whatnot, but yeah, it's very. That's a good way to put it. The workman's working.
hmm
Yeah, it's very mechanically sound and all that, and it's very by the books. And I know a lot of fighting game nerds, love it from a technical aspect. But yeah, it's yeah, like I agree with
what
you. It's just been
will it
just it.
will it sell? Can that appeal? Can the new game appeal to a broader audience?
I don't know because again, I'm just pulling things that I've kind of taken from osmosis from years of social media and
And
video
me,
game spheres. Is I think Virtual Fighter is more popular in Japan than it is over here.
yeah, yeah.
So if it sells well over there in Japan, then they may consider it a success, and it all depends on the budget. So if they're a pretty if it's a pretty reasonable budget that they're working with, then and they can sell it well, I'd say who knows, maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4 million units. They might see that as
Oh, we're a
success. Yeah.
long way off from predicting numbers now.
Yeah. No, I'm getting way ahead of myself. But yeah.
Uh, you know what will sell $1 billion is their other RGG's other game, Project Century, which is what it's called now. Now, the reason it's called Project Century, this one does actually take place in 1915, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you remember Yakuza 7, when they actually break up the Omi Alliance, is that not Madarame? Whoever was in charge at the time, the big guy, the chairman. He makes a reference to that the founding of the clan was 100 years ago. So I think that's what this new game is Yakuza Origins, basically.
Yeah, you brought that to my attention the other day, and I think that'd be a great idea for a game. It still takes place, or it involves groups that we're familiar with, but it's pretty much a brand new setting. It is
Hmm.
1915 Japan, and the trailer was I was a little confused when I heard the big band start flaring up in the trailer, and I thought that's a little early, especially for Japan in 1915. But everything else looked really good about it. I loved all the telephone wires strewn over the place, all the old style buildings and whatnot.
It's also these games have all been M rated, but this is far and away the most violent Ryuga Gotoku game ever.
Yeah, it looked like actual gameplay in it, and I hope it is, because yes, it was much gorier, much bloodier than your standard Yakuza game.
Because it's been the running joke for forever of these games. It's like you don't actually kill anyone; you just beat the shit out of them, and then they get back up later and apologize to you.
And hand over their money too.
So we'll see if that happens in this next one. RGG has had, 4 good games in a row? 5 if you want to count Lost Judgment?
Yeah, I'd say so. And which makes it even more remarkable is just how fast they get these games out, too.
Yeah. And they're not like piss quality where we need to update them day one. It's like, no, Man Who Erased and Infinite Wealth were ready to go out the gate.
And I think it helps that they have such a strong foundation in the Dragon engine. Because they made a totally new engine, and you can tell that they have completely mastered how to use it. In that way, it makes getting these games out even quicker, even easier. So, and they got good writers, and they got great designers too. So and they're always having some really fun, wacky ideas with the series.
If it can ever be said that we trust a studio, is probably this one.
Yeah, they're on the short list, and that list is getting shorter by the day. And there's actually some games released by studios that I used to trust, but now not so much.
Is there any good left? Because, God, we're about to hit some bad.
There are some... there's some that are kind of in the so-so range. I was kind of interested in that Game of Thrones game until I learned it was a mobile game.
That's a mobile game?
Yeah, that is a mobile game, yeah. So that instantly killed
I thought it wasn't going to sell because nobody likes Game of Thrones anymore. Now it's going to sell for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
Not going to.
I think that game might be buried before it even was born, so... there was I don't know if it's an expansion or a new Dying Light, The Beast.
It's a spin-off, what we used to call expandalones. It's a spin-off. So, do you remember in the DLC for the first Dying Light, Kyle Crane died? He didn't.
I do remember that. And look, normally I would say that's bullshit, and whatever reason they came up with wouldn't be good enough, but it's zombies. It's full-blown supernatural at this point, so, whatever. Bring it back, I
Yeah,
say.
might as well be magic, sure.
Mm-hmm. So we got that. Then there's a new Turok game coming out.
Third person.
Yeah. Turok has always been first person, but this is a third person because we live in modern gaming times, and that's the trend.
I think they're going to make... Let's put our cards on the table here, Stizzy. They're going to make a big deal out of his ancestry. His ancestry has been known since the first Nintendo 64 game. No one gave a shit back then.
No, you could tell from the box art, oh, hey, it's an Indian guy. Cool. He's killing dinosaurs. Even cooler. Let's go, do it.
Yes. The reboot that no one remembers on Earth except for me because I fucking played it. That came out on the 360 PS3, just called Turok. Made him like a future military soldier guy.
I was one of those people that completely forgot about it, and as you were telling me about it the other day, it was like some memory charm had been lifted from me or something, because I had totally forgotten that.
You could probably still buy it for super cheap. It's not, it's not horrid. It's just bleh.
I'll have to see if I can find that anywhere. So
of all the things to like redo, it just seems, Turok seems very random.
Yeah, and in this day and age, you can't help, or at least I can't help but wonder is it because of the main character's race that it's getting a revival
Possibly.
sort of deal? Because any other, if it was first person Turok, then I'd be for it. You know, I'd say, hey, yeah. Because what if gamers? A lot of gamers have been complaining that a lot of these studios are just they're just completely ignoring all these fantastic franchises that haven't had any titles in years. And I want to say it wasn't. I don't think it was Herman Hulse. We can't blame him for everything, but it was. I swear it was somebody at Sony that said, "Oh, we don't have a long history of favorite or popular titles that we can go back and revisit." And everybody,
I actually think you're thinking of Kathleen Kennedy.
she might have said it too, but I swear somebody at Sony said it too. So I won't, in case I'm wrong, I won't belabor the point or anything. But it is nice to see that they haven't totally forgotten these. But Turok should be first person, in my opinion.
Okay, now we've got to talk about another first-person shooter that is 100% going to be ass.
Yes. What is that?
Borderlands 4.
Oh dear. Yeah. Borderlands usually has very, very memorable trailers, and they always have some really kick-ass song that accompanies them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember anything that happens in that trailer, or even the song that came along with it.
I can only remember the 4 characters that you'll be forced to play.
Yes, and
there's been you and I have a long history with this franchise. We've played all of them together.
mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
such... It's not like a cliff drop, right? It's a gradual rolling downhill of both quality of dramatic writing, quality of humor writing, quality of character writing. And you think, who cares about writing in a first-person shooter? There's stories in Borderlands. There are a fuck ton of colorful characters who have been watered down, neutered, made into little bitches, or made superhero magical in this franchise. But it's been a gradual worsening. I'm not kidding when I say everything since 2 has been worse narrative and character-wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some, to go with the hill analogy, there were times where you would hit a rock or get
Bounce
smacked
up?
on
Yeah.
a loose branch. But the ending of 3 just felt like you fell off the cliff. It killed pretty much a lot of people's favorite characters. It also emasculated two of the male characters from the first game, made them into even bigger buffoons. It had not one, not two, but 3 girl bosses, if I remember correctly. One of them does die, so... But, yeah, and the antagonists in 3 were also just... I hate the word, but I can't think of anything better. Cringe. They were cringe. They were absolutely awful.
Candidate for maybe worst antagonist in a video game ever. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, it's they're 1 and 1A, and I remember they could have done something really good with one of the antagonists, and it would have changed my opinion on it. But no, they said no, it's the girl that's the final boss. So yeah.
And Wonderlands, again, we both played Wonderlands and had fun, but that story's worse. I'll tell you why it's worse. You and I can talk for hours about Borderlands 3 and how shit it is. Neither of us remembers anything that happened in Wonderlands.
No, not even the side quests, which were some of the highlights in the previous Borderlands titles too. Wonderlands is a blank for me. It plays great.
So,
I mean, that's
yes.
That's the one thing. Like, you're right, because most everything in Borderlands is a downward trend. But I'd say the gameplay has gotten better as the titles have gone on.
But I don't want to keep rewarding that. You know what I mean? I don't want to buy Borderlands 4 on principle at this point, because also it needs to be noticed, the movie that they spent a shit ton of money on and Randy Pitchford basically abandoned the game studio to go fuck around with. The new Tales from the Borderlands game from Telltale that was horrendous and was communist. Those are also nails in the coffin, shall we say. They've fired devs and they've lost money. They kind of need Borderlands 4 to be a success.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Gearbox has been hit with a lot of layoffs as well, so things are not going great for them, and they kind of need this game to be a success. And I don't know if it will be. I'm
I don't know if I want it to be.
yeah, that's another thing. I don't. I think 3 did well, but I don't think Wonderlands really
No.
moved the needle, as far as general zeitgeist or even units sold. So this might be their last hurrah for Gearbox and Randy Pitchford, because
Oh
the
well.
movie did great.
It was one of the 10 worst movies of the year. There have been like 40. So,
Yeah, you got to expand that list for this year. Yeah.
best of luck to him. What else? There's two big ones. I want to leave those two for the absolute end, the bitter end.
Yes, they're uh, Obsidian announced a new game, The Outer Worlds 2.
We had a whole podcast episode. Go look it up about the Outer Worlds. It was called The Life of Space Crime, I believe. We also talked about Yakuza in that one. The first Outer Worlds is a very good game with bad dialogue, and it's like Borderlands, but an RPG. It's closer to an RPG. It's the same people who made New Vegas, so I think that puts it, gives it a lot of whatever in people's eyes, like they automatically like it more.
Yeah, a lot
But
of
since
credibility.
but since the Outer Worlds, Obsidian has had a lot of studio turnover. People have left, people have been fired, downsizing. People have split the studio because they're also making Avowed, which can't wait for that one. And some are making Outer Worlds 2. I think Outer Worlds 2 again will be a perfectly fine game that I won't care about why I'm playing it. You know what I mean?
I get you. I get you. And I enjoyed Outer Worlds. We both did, but I did think it was very, very humorous at the very beginning of that trailer when, because you're right, a lot of devs have gone in and out of Obsidian, but they couldn't help but remind people of all these past games that you've really loved, and they can't say from the makers, or they can't say from the same team, but they can say from the creators of New Vegas and KOTOR 2 and what have you. So it's like they really want you to think, oh, it's Obsidian, it'll be fine, it'll be great. But anybody who's known anything about the state of game studios, especially Obsidian, know that, yeah, it's a lot of different people. And,
Yes.
yeah, who knows what they think is
They
quality.
they have changed their hiring policy, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah, so their standards have undoubtedly dipped since those old classics.
That being said, it's on Game Pass, so I won't have to pay extra for it. There you go.
Yeah, that's the bright spot for all you Xbox owners. So again, good luck to them.
What else?
There was also a new game coming out from the Shadow of the Colossus devs, whose studio name I always escape
I
from.
believe they're called Studio Eco, based on their first game.
You know what? That sounds familiar. That does. And that trailer started all the same way, whereas from the makers of Eco, or I've always said Ico, but I've heard people say Eco as well. And yeah, it doesn't really show you a lot. It doesn't even have a name, as far as I know. It just showed a trailer of some guy getting in a giant mech suit, and it's like there's this dust cloud of something coming at him, and he flies the head off the mech suit to get above the wave cloud, and then that's it.
I never played Ico, and I've always thought Shadow of the Colossus and Last Guardian were pretentious as fuck.
Shadow Colossus always had a very stupid, disappointing ending to me. It basically slapping you in the face for having the hero's journey and saving the girl.
Yeah, it's called Far Cry. Yes.
You couldn't hear I had my mic muted, but I laughed there. I laughed, coughed. Yeah, it's very pretentious, I think, in my opinion. It's still, overall, Shadow of Colossus is really enjoyable. I never played Ico, and I never played Last Guardian either. because that game had its own issues. It seemed like that was announced a long, it took a long time for that one to release as well.
Mhm.
So, again, don't know anything about that game. That game, I wouldn't be surprised if that came out in like 4 years, maybe 5. It's probably a long way off.
Yeah. There was another one. Fucking Okami sequel. Kamiya retires from Platinum and then says, "You know what? I'm unretiring to make a sequel to a game from 20 years ago."
It's the reunion tour, Loki,
Yeah, him and the other guy whose name I don't remember.
and we're here for it.
Kamiya is a more famous guy because of his Twitter escapades and a whole kerfuffle with Bayonetta.
Yeah, I can't remember who the other guy involved is in this project, but if you were watching the show, which we weren't, but I went back and watched a stream of the show. Geoff Keighley started crying.
Oh my god, he's such a bitch.
Because he was saying how special it was that this game is premiered on the 10th anniversary, the 10th show of the Game Awards, and this means so much to me.
Yeah, I remember 10 years ago too, Geoff, when you were on TV.
Yeah, I remember G4, Geoff, huh? Remember that? But it wasn't even Okami 2. It was Okami sequel game.
And they don't have anything to show. They just said we're going to start working on it.
It had the title splash card, and then there was an orchestra playing. And that was it. And but I don't know about you, Loki, but I don't think that constitute a game. I don't think that's enough to should be enough to get players excited.
It got Geoff Keighley to cry, man. Come on.
Well, I guess if nothing else, at least we had that. So he wasn't quite as sad as what you see here on the screen, but yeah, he was. Well, this is just him, just dead inside, and oh my goodness, his eyes look so dead. Just watching that show, I don't know what's going on with him, but
I wonder if he even cares about video games anymore.
I don't know. I think he just wants to hang out with game developers and not have to play.
Oh, for certain, yeah.
Which, that reminded me. There was this whole bit of the two Muppets, the old Muppets that sit up in the mezzanine.
Statler and Waldorf, they're named after hotels, yes.
Yeah, Statler and Waldorf. And every now and then, periodically during the show, they would go up there and they would recite some scripted jokes, and the audience would laugh awkwardly. Actually, I don't even know if it was the live the live audience reaction. I think it might have been studio audience noise played by the production team. It sounded like, because that auditorium or wherever they were in was not full. There were a lot of empty seats. Oh yeah, and I think they cracked one joke about, oh look, Kojima's here. He's friends with Geoff Keighley. Does Kojima know that?
Yes, he does, because that's all we know about either person.
Yeah. At least Kojima's got some actual good work under his belt. It's been a long time.
Geoff Keighley used to do good work. Then he started the Video Game Awards.
Yeah, now it's basically his payday for the year. It's
well, that and Summer Game Fest and a bunch of other shit.
I heard somewhere, and I'm sure it varies, depending on the slots that you buy into, but it costs, I think, to advertise in the Video Game Awards, it could cost a studio anywhere from like $250,000 or something like that to show.
It depends on how long. Yes, it depends on how long your trailer is.
Yeah, and where it is, because not a new game, but
I'm surprised by the way that didn't. I'm surprised by the way. I'm sorry, that didn't trend this year, because last year during the VGAs, a ton of indie devs were saying they asked me to pay this much to show my trailer. Instead, I'm showing it here on Twitter. That didn't happen this year. Very weird.
I guess they figured people wouldn't really care as much this year, but yeah, because you're not going to see any games from indie studios. You may see some indie games, but not any from indie studios.
Well, people don't really care about the awards. They care about the trailers. What's our next trailer?
That's all it is at this point, yeah. It's just about the trailers. sorry, I'm having a headset issue. My
Oh,
Bluetooth is running out of battery, so I'm trying to get
oh
new
no.
ones hooked in. Yeah. Um, so, yeah. Go us through the next game, if you would, Loki, please.
What is the next game? Tell me the name.
Um, Power World had an update.
Yeah, the game I didn't play. I can vamp about. Do we really want to just hit The Witcher 4 now?
There might be some other things. I'm looking through my list right now. And they announced Clive for Tekken 8. He's hitting the roster.
As a guy who plays a lot of Tekken 8 and didn't like FF16, I could give a shit.
I would have been more excited if it was Tifa, because she's an actual brawler, but Clive's got a sword, and I know I've said this, and I know Yoshimitsu is a character. I don't see, because Tekken is not a weapons-based fighter,
Hmm.
so I just don't like it. They're adding in another sword user. So.
Also, nobody fucking plays Yoshimitsu.
No, he looks stupid now with all his tentacles and shit. I don't know how he does.
Everyone's going to
Gameplay.
play Clive on day one because he'll be busted.
Yeah, were you telling me that was it Tekken 7 where it added Noctis in and a lot of pro players ended up playing and a lot of pro players ended up going just going ham on the tournaments and winning everything with him. That just that felt dirty when I heard that. I was like, that's not right. Yeah, so well, you were right. You because we got wind of that news before the show even started, and you said it will be a collaboration character. It will not be a Tekken character because that's not worthy of the video game awards. So you were right once again. I know how much you love to hear that. And here you said the other day you didn't like compliments. Oh, so you don't like compliment. You like affirmation, is what you like. You're about as sassy as one, that's for sure. I'm just going through the list here. Fortnite's getting first person. Who cares? Lego Fortnite something added new name. I don't know. Double Dragon Revive. I don't. Yeah, October 23 of next year. So yeah, that'll be. Yeah, I played that one and I played the first one and I enjoyed both of them. They're really fun games. Let's see. Dispatch, a story-driven game about dispatching superheroes to combat crimes. I don't even remember that. Well, and some of the worst, the least favorite comic issues of superhero comics are the ones that focus on their everyday lives. Like you understand, you want to check in on them, but that's not why you read a superhero comic or want to see in your superhero story. So. Mm-hmm. There was a very odd looking game that apparently stars a evil Pac-Man. Yeah, Shadow Labyrinth is a Castlevania, Metroidvania type game where you're controlling some guy who has dark powers and is followed by a Pac-Man who eats enemies. They should have given him a gun. this phrase gets you overused a lot, I think, but I can't help but think of it. Who is this for? Who is this game for? Who is wanting? Who is banging down Bandai Namco's doors saying we want a Dark Pac-Man? And it's it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's not a coincidence. I don't think that this news came out around the same time that this new Amazon TV series called Secret Level came out, and there is a Pac-Man episode, and it's very confusing. It's very dark. It's very ridiculous. Like I watched it and I don't even remember a whole lot about it. Some of the other episodes are actually okay. Sifu was disappointing. The episode of that one. Oh yeah, gosh, that was. I don't know if that was my biggest disappointment of the show, but it was up there because I think Slow Clap. Sifu was just phenomenal. I love that game, and now they say they're coming out with a soccer game. Like what? Are you serious? Soccer? Yeah, they're. Who knows? Somebody will come up with an abbreviation for that. Yeah, because the camera follows the player itself, which is you don't see that a lot in most of the soccer games. So I guess that's kind of a new twist. But I'm gonna skip that one. Sorry, guys. Just make another fighting game, I say. Yeah, because they came out with a game called Absolver, which was it had also had to do with hand to hand fighting, and had this very unique fighting mechanics system in it. And I remember playing it. It was supposed to be a PvP game, and I played it and I thought, okay, this is really close to being a pretty good style of fighting game if they can get this right. And they did for Sifu, and it was phenomenal. It's to this day, it is one of the most satisfying games I've played, at least in probably the last 5-10 years. So yeah, that was a rematch is the name of it of this new slow clap game. So yeah, Sifu Saka. So yeah, I'm just going to wait for their next title. So maybe they're one of those studios where it's every other game that they release is a good one. So I don't know. Well, let's see. There is Slay the Spire 2's coming out. I don't know if this was newly announced here, but that's one that went under my radar. I mean, I know, well, not under my radar. I know of it, but just never got around to playing. So, but one day maybe. And a recent just tidal wave of what people are calling cozy games, Tales of the Shire, is coming out. So I know you love the Lord of the Rings universe, so I feel like cozy. You're not a cat man. I know. You have a lot of the same personality traits as a cat, but you are not a cat man. I know. And also, speaking of mining a franchise down to its last ore, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is confirmed for the PC in April. It'll take them about 10 minutes to make that Abby scene a lot more appealing. What if modders end up doing like they do with Skyrim and then just improving every single aspect of that game? Where it'd be. Yeah. Even if I wanted to, I don't know if my computer would handle it. My crappy little laptop here. My crap top. Nope. Nope. Yes, everything is a Windows machine and an Xbox, coincidentally. So we could be playing Last of Us on our Xboxes soon. Mm-hmm. So, good stuff to look forward to in the future of gaming. um, Probably more to say about The Witcher because I think they showed a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Um, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, which I didn't catch this, but some eagle-eye Twitter slash X users caught it. The tweet that Naughty Dog put out there said Intergalactic, a brand new franchise from the Naughty Dog studio. Now, that sounds a little presumptuous. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a very good point that it's not being discussed nearly enough. Because, and I wonder, because my first thought was when I saw all the product placements, is I thought, okay, were they doing this just to kind of subsidize the cost for the advertisement on VGA? Because I'm sure it was the last thing they showed. So I'm sure yeah. So who knows? That might have cost upward, quarter of a million or 300,000 or something like that. Because Naughty Dog has also they've had layoffs. They had troubles in their studios as well. So they need this to be a hit. And a lot of people were looking forward to that because the first multiplayer mode in or the excuse me the multiplayer mode in the first Last of Us was actually a surprising hit. I remember playing that at the time and coming away kind of pleasantly surprised at how enjoyable it was. So and apparently this is sorry I was going to say this has been in development for quite a while, 4 or 5 years I think I keep hearing. Mm-hmm. No, that looked like a cinematic trailer to me. The new Jaguar. That's topical. Mm-hmm. Yeah, things took a quite a hard pivot socially and culturally that I don't think a lot of these studios were counting on. So that should have came with the game. Just just saying. Yeah. And they showed Deathstroke, which actually is a good design. He looks pretty good. And I thought when I saw it, I thought, see, you guys can do it if you really try. You can definitely tell that there's been a cultural shift within the gaming community, and especially, and it's in conjunction with Gamergate 2 and how the gamers won that. Sorry to tell you this, journalist, if you don't know that, but gamers won the first time around, and they won Gamergate 2. And yes, we are. Yes. And a lot of people did. A lot of people saw that the way that the winds were blowing in journalism, and that a lot of journalists had their own personal interest, and that they didn't align with what a lot of people would consider being an integral part of being a journalist, and that's actually telling the truth and having professional integrity too, and that that this industry was compromised, and the people that are in it as well, and that their opinions just don't matter anymore. I feel. Yeah. Mhm. And I know you may not want to discuss it, but I feel like we're going in that same direction. There was a guy at the show that they presented called Amir something, a stot, something like that. I can't remember. And he was supposed to be like some small time YouTuber with like 4,000 subscribers, and he has taken it upon himself to help people that have lost their jobs in the industries that have suffered through these layoffs in different studios. And at first you think, oh, okay, well that's kind of nice, but then you just see the people that were laid off, and it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, I can just tell by say something like your hair color that why you might have been let go. So my sympathy is very limited. Let's say I actually know it, but you said not to tell you, so I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't. That trailer showed you everything you need to know about it, and no gain too. So yeah, that also speaks volumes to what their priorities are. And yeah, this game started development in 2020, and we don't live in the same world as 2020, and they just haven't caught up with it. These developers or Neil Druckmann, and this is all him now. This is all him, and that sounds surprising because he's been with Naughty Dog for quite a while now. But this is it. He cannot. Oh God, jeez. Talk about failing upward. That is the Steve Carell office meme. Him shaking his hand with his boss and not doing anything. But he can't coast on those more successful franchises anymore. On Uncharted or Last of Us when it still had a lot of a lot more popular. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always have to go through their greatest hits instead of just showing a trailer and then you see the studio name. Like for that, I've already forgotten the name. The RGG, the old 1915 Yakuza project. Yeah, Project Century. I was when I first started playing, I thought, what is this? What am I watching? And then it was RGG, and then I was instantly excited because, like we said, we actually trust that studio. But you didn't see a Star Wars credit scroll of from the makers of Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Judgment, or anything like that. They let their success speak for them, and the fact that the supposed juggernaut studio of Naughty Dogs has to harken back to Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter, who they've completely forgotten about that IP. Yeah, what was the deal with that? I don't want to go too far in a rabbit hole, but oh yeah, you're right. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. So this is it moving forward. They've, like I said, they have when Last of Us 2 remastered comes out on PC, that'll be it for that one. You can't. There may be a PS5 Pro version or whatever if Xbox makes another console or something in the future. You can look at Ubisoft's stock price and make a pretty safe bet that yeah, Shadows might be the final nail. But Naughty Dog, they might have their name might have enough cachet to sell for this game to sell at least 5 million copies. I don't think it'll reach 10. Oh, for sure. He'll get a lot of leeway. Yeah, he'll get a lot of slack, even if this game Intergalactic doesn't sell like gangbusters because they're already. I mean, I don't. The fact that they decided to tweet the franchise and not a new game, I wonder if they have some sort of contract, some sort of deal to for multiple titles. I don't know. Yeah, you would think that is totally moronic. There's no way that would happen. But then you would realize, oh wait, it's Sony, so it's very much in the realm of possibility. So yeah, it's like Sony is playing the Telltale games, trying to fuck up every single thing that they come across. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, um, and we didn't even talk about the trailer itself too much. Yeah, it's yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, she was. I wanted to punch her stupid bald face when she was sipping that drink, and I knew. I said this last night. I said this again. You're going to be seeing that for the next year at least, maybe two. That same photos whenever this game comes out. Oh God. And I thought you made a really funny joke when you said that all these companies that make these consoles want to switch to digital only, but now we have a new marquee title for PlayStation 5 where the main character has a disc changer in her vehicle. So that's like that was pretty ironic. That was a good catch. Mm-hmm. Yes, they might have started developing when CDs were still popular. Who knows? Oh, I wish them the worst. Yeah, wishing the very worst. Yes, and this trailer was shown actually fairly early in the show, if I'm not mistaken, within the first, I want to say, hour at least, maybe first 30 minutes. But and I think it'll go in waves. I think when we learn more about Intergalactic, the news will start trending and so forth and so forth. But yes, The Witcher 4 is apparently in development, but we knew about it, so that might also be a big reason why there's so much more discourse about it because if you played The Witcher 3, you could kind of guess it was pretty safe bet to know that Ciri was going to get her own game. I thought she would have possibly gotten a spinoff, but no, she is going to be the protagonist in the Witcher game, even though Ciri is not a Witcher, and she cannot become a Witcher. Um, but the main sticking point for a lot of people is her look. Now, personally, Loki, I think she looks okay. I think she looks a little older, but I think she looks okay. Um, you're absolutely right, and because I think if those videos didn't exist, the ones showcasing their initiatives in DEI and ESG policies and handing out scholarships and denying them to men, namely straight white men, and having menstrual leave for their employees, then yeah, I don't think the reaction around this would be nearly as huge and divisive as it has been because no gameplay in this trailer. And they also do not do themselves any more favors because they have shown us the timeline of what the games are currently in development. Because so we know that this Witcher 4, it's on the back burner. They're going to come out with the first Witcher remake before this, and they're working on another game. You told me about it, I forgot. So they, yes, yes. So they have currently four, maybe five games in the pipeline as we speak. So this game may come out what 2026 at the earliest. That's a generous guess. This is a ways off. We're not going to be seeing this for a long time, and who knows what she'll look like in game. Um, she may look better. She may look the same as here, but my main problem with it is, like I said earlier, Ciri cannot become a Witcher in the universe lore. It's not possible. And people said this at the time, and they were completely right. But he was a fucking moron for doing that because he cost himself so much money. And I guess in some fairness, I don't know if anybody could have predicted Witcher 3 was going to be as big of a hit as it was, but yeah, that was monumentally stupid on his part. And so he can't say anything against it. And the word evolve, I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't read that, I haven't seen that. But that word has the connotation of being better. And what is it we see with a lot of female protagonists in a lot of current day movies and video games? It's not enough that they replace the male protagonist, but they have to do it better. They were either there first, or they take the mantle and they improve upon it. Because Just say it's being made for a modern audience. You know you want to. You know you want to. Let me give you let me give you a brief sequence of events. Studio releases a trailer for a game. The characters look suspect. They look terrible. Nobody likes them. People talk about it online. The studio devs come out. Studio devs come, yeah, they get called incels. Devs come out and say, "We're making this for a modern audience." Game doesn't sell. Devs come out and say the incels and the chuds ruined it, and they weren't there for the game. Rinse and repeat for all your favorite franchises. No, that is a template that you can use for a lot of current day media. So yeah, feel free to use that one again. So, but and she had a lot of traits of the girl boss in this trailer. She went to some podunk village and they were sacrificing some girl, and she saves the girl from this monster. She doesn't use her teleportation powers, which was very, yeah, it's, see, that's the thing. She never needed to be a witcher because she did grow up in Kaer with the witchers, but they never wanted her to go through the trials of the grasses because it would be too dangerous because women can't survive it. And only, yeah, Vesemir was the only one who knew how the trial of the grasses was conducted, and he died. But I wouldn't be surprised in this game they come out and say, well, since Yennefer also did the trial of the grasses on that weird, that elf guy he was shapeshifted at a time. I can't remember what the like weird gremlin he was. They'll say Yennefer learned it from Vesemir and improved upon it so that Ciri could take the trial of the grasses, but adults can't take it either. But of course they'll evolve it. Yeah. So it's the syndrome. Everybody's going to be a hero. So anybody can do the trial of the grasses. But yeah, she had training from the Witcher's sword training. I mean, and she grew adept at it. She tried, not in the game, but in the books, she has tried to learn spells, but she's not, with her elder blood, she can't become a sorceress or a witch per se. She's essentially a conduit for magical energy. I can't remember the entire lore behind it or anything like that, but pretty much she can't become a sorceress or anything like that. But she's got her teleportation powers. She can go back. She can teleport between the battlefield, use her sword skills that she learned from Geralt, and that was good enough for her in The Witcher 3. But now she's popping potions and she's getting cat eyes and she can see in the dark and her veins are popping out of her face and shit like that. Well, there were never any witches because, like I said, girls can't survive the trial of the grasses, so they've never, it's never been. I mean, it's been done. That's how they find out girls can't do it. But I don't think there's ever been a female equivalent to that name, at least in that universe. Well, yeah, sorceresses can use magic, but it's a different type of magic than witchers. And witchers, it's not even like there is some magic that goes into the trial, and they have their own like basic spells like Igni and Ard and stuff like that they can use, but they can't use the same spells as like a sorceress can, and but neither can Ciri. So, which is I guess why they just went ahead and just gave her Witcher qualities in this game. Give her the silver sword, and yeah, go at it, honey. There you go. And like I said earlier, you could see that coming from if you played Witcher 3, and especially if you got the ending where she gets the sword and she quote unquote becomes a Witcher. But that'd be funny to explain away if you did choose the Empress of Nilfgaardian ending where she just shows up and like, aren't you the Empress? What are you doing? Oh, I said fuck that. Now I'm doing Witcher stuff. What? But the Witcher, the quote unquote Witcher ending, I never took that to mean that she's going to become a Witcher. I just thought she would be doing Witcher work. She would be going and hunting and slaying monsters and just helping folks and whatnot. But no, she is a full blown Witcher in this trailer. So no, I fully expected it. Yeah, I fully expected it after 3. Yeah, that's right. They did. You think he's got a 9 iron with his name on it? It tells you a lot, for sure. And it's even if I hadn't seen this trailer, just everything I've seen out of CDPR in recent years makes me hesitant and reluctant to buy any of their future games. And it's sort of it's a culmination too. It's not just the video on DEIESG. It's also the fact that a lot of same as Naughty Dog and Obsidian, a lot of their devs have left in the past 10 years because heck, even before Witcher 3 came out, a lot of their big name developers left the studio, and that's just more and more have trickled out as the years have gone on, and so now it's just the meme of here's a photo of the old studio employees and here's a current one, and there's a lot more pink and blue hair in the crowd in the current one. So yeah, it's actually more unforgivable on men in my opinion, but at least they're men. So no, I'm kidding. Oh yeah, it's no, it's well, yes, I agree with you, and it's. I'm not the biggest Witcher fan. I've read some books. I've played the games. I really love 3. It's a fantastic game in my opinion, except for the actual gameplay part. It's just kind of passable, and that might be the only part of this game that actually sees an improvement. So, because who knows what the fuck they're gonna do with the story? Oh, gosh, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think we covered most of the stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, especially the last two games, Intergalactic and Witcher 4. They're not coming out for years. It's gonna be a long time. Yeah, you got the initial flare up and the overreactions when you first from first seeing them. Yeah. Oh no, I misspoke there. I meant just general reactions to it. It's just you see, like any announcement for these big titles, you'll just see the initial reactions flare up and then it'll die down. And, because we probably won't get any more news on these games for like another year at least. Who knows how long. Yeah, yeah, who knows? Well, we'll see then. But yeah, I think that's, like I said, I think that's about it. Sorry, yeah, no, it was a bumpy road to get here, no doubt. And I can't guarantee this will always, you'll always have internet's worst in this iteration, but or live, yeah. And yeah, yeah, it'll hopefully be able to get this recording out to other streaming platforms that we're usually on, like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. So you'll be able to listen and to enjoy or bemoan us there. And yes, our game of the years, which is we are not bought and paid for. I wish we were. It will not be Astrobot. You can get well, because I highly doubt either of us will have played it in the next 2 weeks or whenever we do record it. So we'll just have to comb over all the other titles that have come out this year and try to pick a favorite one, or at least we'll pick several favorites and also several worst, which there were quite a few of those this year. It'll be an interesting one when we look back at in retrospect, and this is probably something I should be waxing in our own video, but and not here. But yeah, it's watching the VGAs just kind of cemented that fact. That too, and also the fact that there were some games that were not there. Well, you did Stellar Blade, felt like an elephant in the room, but it was nominated. You told me that. You reminded me that it was nominated for several categories, but not Game of the Year. And I never would have expected it to win Game of the Year, but it should have at least been nominated, especially over a freaking card game and a DLC. I will know that the scrolls are taking over and you've been replaced. That's right. The hovering over New Jersey has just been a distraction, a red herring. They were really coming for you. Oh yeah. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this. I know we enjoyed at least talking about it, not watching it so much, but hmm I think overall this show wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but I've seen worse VGAs. I agree with that. Yeah, this one was just so. It was just like it had those two big titles that everybody's talking about for good reason, and then some interesting looking games, and then just kind of a lot of okay, more mobile games, stuff like that. Which that's a big part of the industry, so I get why they have to showcase them. But oh gosh, you know that audience had to just be just tasting bile in their throats, seeing all the Hoyoverse games and all those being advertised. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And another thing is they know how to advertise to women. They know how to make cute characters, cute animals. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think Wuthering Waves is coming out for PS5 in January. I think that was also announced. Yeah. Oh, another thing, and this I just was reminded of this scrolling through this list that I completely forgot. Helldivers 2 won Best Ongoing Game, I believe it was. And there was a very, very insightful tweet I saw, and it was the only instance of seeing this comment. But I read somewhere, someone commented saying, how can Helldivers 2 win Best Ongoing Game? Because it came out this year. And that game award is usually reserved, or should be reserved, for games that are in their second or third or however many years of their cycle. You're right, Loki. It is a Sony show. I just answered my own question from the past. Thank you. So, but yeah, I got reminded of that, and I thought that was I thought that was I thought it was a very, very poignant point. So it was very good. So, all right, well, I think as bumpy as rocky as it was at the beginning, I think we did okay here for our first live stream. So I hope y'all enjoyed it just as much as we did. Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. This was fun, but we're not in it for us. Well, we are, but we also want you, the listener, to also enjoy this. And like I said, we're going to try and get this out for the other streaming platforms, and all the other, whatever you stream, podcast, or whatever on in the future. And yeah, what do you think, Loki? We might be able to do a game of the year maybe in 2-3 weeks sometime, or... Well, it's good. Or like a lot of couples, we each have our roles. So, yeah, don't believe your parents when they say they don't. They do, they do. But if I would like to do something maybe next weekend. I don't know if we'll get any big news, but if we do, we'll try to make it happen. If not, you can at least hear us on when we do our Game of the Year awards. So. Got to start preparing those lists. So, any else you would like to mention, Loki? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. Playing games is the best. It's fun, fun times. Much more than... I never thought we never really needed awards for games, but here we are, 10 years strong, or, limp-wristed, if we will. So, all right. I got to